Today, I'm going to give you some basic synthwave drum tips, and we're going to get into it as soon as I shout out today's patron, and that patron shout out goes to ALW Tunes. Thank you so very much for the support. Let's get started. Okay, we are back at the Roland SP404 Mark II, but today's video is not specific to the 404 Mark II, and that's because it's going to be a general tips video for drums, specifically in the synthwave genre. Since I've been getting more into synthwave creation, I've had some people talk to me and ask questions about drum parts, so I figured I'd just do some really basic tips and kind of try to help you all out. So while I'm doing this on the 404, it doesn't have to be on the 404 specifically. Really, any sampler or drum machine or synth that can make drum sounds, these tips are going to work. Let's talk about the sounds I am using real quick, though. These actually come with VintageSoundset.com's Dreamwaves V3 pack, the preset pack for the Arturia Mini Freak, which I went over in the last video I made on the channel, but they actually include some synthwave drum samples with that pack. Pretty much everything except for this crash cymbal right here. I added that in from my own personal collection. But those are the sounds we're going to be using today, and I just figured I'd go over a couple basic patterns that you can use in your synthwave music, but also a few little tricks that you can use to spice things up a bit. So let's talk about the most generic synthwave pattern out there. It's just going to be this one. Really, really simple, right? It's going to be right around 84 BPM, although it works really anywhere in there. You're going to have the kick drum doing 4 on the floor, providing that really nice grounded feel, but it's not going to be kind of like dance music 4 on the floor, where you're upbeat, like. No, instead we're providing a really grounded foundation to bounce all the other elements of the track off of. We're going to have the snare drum on beats 2 and 4, and it's going to hit simultaneously with the kick drum. So 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a... And then, as you can hear, 16th notes on the hi-hat. Now, my first little tip for this pattern is to not press the hi-hat, or don't trigger or sequence whatever the hi-hat when the snare drum hits. And that's because, well, a drummer's only got 2 hands, and typically when a drummer is playing this 16th note pattern on the hi-hat, they are using both their hands, like, and when that snare drum hit comes, it's going to be square on either 2 or 4. Their dominant hand is going to come off the hi-hat to hit the snare drum, meaning they're not going to have a hand to hit the hi-hat, because this one is going on those offbeats. So it's going to look something like this. Again, up tempo. Just like that. So let's go ahead and practice sequencing it. So I'm going to go into a pattern here. I'm going to go into the TR rec. So at this point now, this is our sequencer, okay? 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. So I'm going to take my kick drum. I'm going to put it on all 4 beats. I'm going to take my snare drum and put it on beats 2 and 4. So 1E and a, 2E and a, 3E and a, 4E and a. Okay. Now that we've got the hi-hat, we're going to put it on the first 4 16th notes, but we're going to skip the snare drum on beat 2 and pick it up right after. And do it again for the second half of the pattern. But that can sound kind of dead, so let's stagger the velocities, right? So on the offbeats here, this column here, so 1E and a 2E and a, so on all the E's and all the U's, we're going to remove the hi-hat. I'm going to turn down the velocity and then resequence it. Hear the difference there? Now we've got that kind of like sort of a chugging feel, or a little bit of drive, because it's almost impossible to play the exact same velocity both times with your, 2 hands. So now we've got. And this pattern right here is going to allow you to do a lot of slower synthwave music. This is going to want that super repetitive chugging 16th note bass line. Repetitive arpeggios are going to sound incredible over this. Nice, big, washy Juno 60-esque chords drenched in chorus and reverb. Those are going to sound lovely over this as well. You can put some reverb on the snare drum, maybe even your hi-hat. Maybe not that reverb. But this isn't really about the effects, it's about the pattern itself. Okay, let's start on a new pattern. Some of you are probably familiar with the song Footloose, which has a drum pattern that's very similar to this. And that will work just by itself for a lot of faster synthwave. The kick drum is pretty syncopated, so you'll actually have to go in and try to figure out a bass line that works well with it. But yeah, just those two elements there, kick and snare, will play very nice with each other. I'm going to go in and sequence that right here. Got the tempo set to 162. We're going to go 2 bars this time. I'm going to grab the kick drum. I'm going to put it on the downbeat. And then we're going to put it right here on the and of beat 2. Doom, 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 doom. And we're also going to put it on the and of beat 3. Okay, let's grab our snare drum now. And once again, just like before, on beats 2 and 4. 1E and a, 2E and a, 3 and a, 4 and a. Okay, we're going to go to our second measure now. And we're actually going to leave the entire first 4 16th notes empty. We're going to put our snare drum on the downbeat of beat 2. And let's put it on 4 as well. Then we're going to grab our kick drum, and we're going to put it on the and of beat 2, and the and of beat 3. And there's our pattern. Right there, that will work pretty well. In fact, in just hearing that pattern, I would imagine that a few of you thought of several different songs that use either that or a very similar drum pattern. But that's not the tip I have. Now, instead what I want to do is copy this over, but I'm only going to copy the kick drum. I'm going to paste that into a new pattern. So this new pattern has that exact same kick drum pattern, but now every time that we were going to hit a snare drum, we're instead going to hit a tom. And those are going to descend in pitch every time we hit one, because we have 4 snare drums across our 2 measures, and we actually have 4 different pitched toms here. So instead of sounding like this, it'll sound like this. You want to make sure you're using those kind of old school Simmons style toms, that really nice, you know, just like that. So let's go to our pattern, and we're going to edit these in, okay? So let's grab our highest tom. That's going to go on the downbeat of beat 2. Grab the next highest one, downbeat of beat 4. Go to our second measure. Grab our second to lowest tom, put that on beat 2. And then grab our lowest tom, put that on beat 4. And here's our pattern. A really nice trick with this pattern is you could use it in, say, a verse where you have a little lower energy. Maybe there's less melodic elements or things going on. It just creates a little bit of like, ooh, something's happening in the drums. Then when you want it to drive a bit harder and a bit more straightforward, you can switch to the pattern with the snare drum for the chorus. And of course, you can change up the samples to be whatever you want there. But yeah, those are just 2 super handy patterns, and I love the tip of using the toms to replace the snare drums. One more little tip there is you can actually end on a snare drum instead of the last tom for a little bit of emphasis. Maybe throw a crash cymbal with it. Like this. A little bit of pop there at the end. Speaking of pop, let's talk really quickly about drum fills. We all know that one of the most common fills in this type of music is just rolling down the toms. Like that. That's okay. It sounds great, you know, classic. But let me introduce you to the concept of a flam. If you don't know what a flam is, it's basically two notes very close together rhythmically. So like that. Now that's not the actual definition, but in layman's terms, it'll work for the purposes of this video. You'll often hear flams used as a way to accent a drum fill. So instead of, you'll hear. You hear how much more powerful that is? So the tip is simply don't be afraid to use flams and don't be afraid to put them and try them in strange places. Also, if you have a sampler that has resampling capabilities, you can sort of cheat. On the 404, I was actually able to resample myself playing flams into each of these pads. So now I don't have to play them if I don't want. I can just trigger a recording of a flam. Whoops. Have fun, experiment, and you never know where you might be able to find some space to throw in an extra little hit right with your tom, known as a flam. So there you have it, some very basic synthwave tips for drums, as well as a few ways to start exploring and spice up your drums just a smidge. I know I kept this one really simple. If you would like me to go more in depth with different drum techniques and how we can approach them using electronic music gear, just let me know. The concept of this video is sort of what I originally envisioned for the channel way back 7-ish years ago when I started it. So yeah, let me know if you like this, and it's definitely something I would not be afraid to revisit in the future and expand upon. I do hope you found this video informative or at least entertaining. If you did, be sure to leave a like on it. If not, you can always leave a dislike. Doesn't hurt my feelings, just makes me try that much harder next time. Either way, be sure to hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell. Thank you all so very much for being here. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.